My name is Seo-yeon, and at 29 years old, my life has the soft sound of pages turning. Working at the Blue Sky bookstore in the Jongno neighborhood of Seoul is more than a job. It's my refuge. The smell of old books, the murmur of customers' conversations, and the gentle jazz melody playing on the record player are the soundtrack of my existence. Each day is a comfortable repetition, a cycle of unboxing new books and closing the store at night with the certainty that tomorrow will be the same. Life is predictable, safe, and that pleases me. I have a good life, or at least, that's what I tell myself. I have a stable relationship with Ji-hoon, a charming and serious accountant. He loves me, respects me, and our plans for the future are practical and logical. Marriage, a house in the suburbs, maybe 2 children. Everything in its proper place. He's the person I chose to give me the stability I always wanted. But, from time to time, the predictability is interrupted by an echo from the past, a sound I keep in the back of my mind. The echo of Min-jun's voice, my first love, my best friend, and the only person I truly loved. We grew up together. Our laughter blended on the playground, on long summer afternoons, on bike rides. He was the sun that lit up my days, the melody that lulled my dreams, and he was the first person to break my heart. I remember the afternoon he left. His voice, so sweet, became a whisper. Seo-yeon, my dad got a job in Daegu. We're moving. The sound of those words was like glass shattering. I couldn't say anything. My heart broke into 1,000 pieces. He promised he would come back for me, that no matter how much time passed, he would find me. I believed every word, and the sound of his promise, "I'll find you, Seo-yeon, I promise," echoed in my mind for years. But 10 years passed, and he never came back. The promise became a ghost, an unfinished melody. Time healed the wound, but the scar remained, and to avoid the pain, I closed myself off. I focused on my career, on my life, and on the search for stability that would prevent me from feeling the pain of another loss. Now, 10 years later, here I am, happy, engaged to Ji-hoon. Our conversations are practical, about finances, about the future. The sound of his voice is comforting, but it doesn't have the melody that Min-jun's heart had. But I can't have everything, right? Life isn't a Korean drama. Life is real. And in real life, first loves rarely come back. The sound of the bookstore's doorbell echoed through the store. "Welcome," I said, my voice a little tired after a long afternoon of work. The sound of footsteps approached. "Where can I find the book, The Hidden Side of the Stars?" a voice asked. The sound of that voice, I'd recognize it anywhere. The sound of that voice made my heart leap, and a wave of warmth rushed through my body, like the warm breeze of a summer I remembered with longing. I turned around, and there he was, Min-jun. 10 years had passed, but he was still the same. The dark hair, the shy smile, and the eyes. The same eyes that promised me he would return. He was taller, more mature, but still the same boy I knew. The sound of my heart was beating so fast I thought he could hear it. "Min-jun?" I said, and my voice came out in a whisper. He looked at me, and a smile formed on his face. "Seo-yeon, I knew I'd find you here. The bookstore still has your smell." He came closer, and his scent, a scent of pine and rain, the same scent I remembered from Daegu, the place he moved to. I couldn't say anything. He looked me in the eyes. "Aren't you going to give me a hug, Seo-yeon?" His voice was full of affection, of longing. I hesitated for a moment. I was engaged. I couldn't just hug him. I started, but he interrupted me. "It's okay. I understand. You're the Seo-yeon I know, the Seo-yeon who is always cautious." The sound of his voice was gentle, and his gaze told me he understood my hesitation. "What are you doing here, Min-jun?" I asked. "I moved back to Seoul. I'm an architect now. I helped design the new Songdo Tower building," he said. The sound of his words filled me with pride. He was a success. "I knew you'd become an architect," I said, and the voice of my memory, which held all our dreams, echoed in my mind. He looked me in the eyes. "I came back for you, Seo-yeon. I know my promise might seem ridiculous now, but I never forgot you. I've loved you all these years, and I came back to find you." The sound of that confession left me breathless. My heart was beating so fast I thought it could jump out of my chest. I couldn't say anything. I just couldn't. I was married. I was about to say I was newly married, but Ji-hoon arrived. The sound of his voice, "Seo-yeon, what's going on here?" was cold, sharp. I turned around and he was there with a forced smile on his face. "Ji-hoon, this is Min-jun," I said, and my voice was trembling. "Min-jun, this is my husband, Ji-hoon." The sound of those words was like a stab. I saw Min-jun's expression change. His smile disappeared, and his eyes, which had been sparkling, filled with deep sadness. The sound of the rain on the bookstore window was the only sound I could hear. The silence between us was louder than the sound of the rain, and more oppressive than any sound I had ever heard before. I was engaged, but I said I was married. The sound of my own lie weighed on me. Min-jun looked at me. His eyes were full of hurt, sadness, and disappointment. "You got married," he said, his voice a whisper. You waited for me for 10 years and you got married." His voice was so full of pain, I felt my heart break into 1,000 pieces again. "I'm sorry, Min-jun," I said. I didn't know you would come back. I moved on with my life. I couldn't wait forever. His voice, which I remembered being full of sunshine, turned dark. I understand, he said. Life isn't a fairy tale, is it? First love never lasts. He turned around and the sound of his footsteps walking away was the sound of my heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. I turned around and Ji-hoon was there, looking at me with a forced smile on his face. Who is that man, Seo-yeon? He asked, and his voice was cold. He's a childhood friend, Ji-hoon. He moved from Seoul 10 years ago. He came here to see me. The sound of my voice was weak. He doesn't seem like just a friend, Seo-yeon, he said. Don't talk to him again. I don't like him. The sound of his voice was a sound of control, and I felt suffocated. Ji-hoon had always been possessive, but I always saw it as a sign of love. But now, after seeing Min-jun, Ji-hoon's possessiveness seemed more like a cage than a shelter. I turned and looked at the bookstore door. The sound of the rain was the only sound I could hear. I felt like I was in a black and white world. Min-jun's world was full of colors, life, promises. And my world, the world with Ji-hoon, was a world without colors, a world of routine, of safety, but without life. I sat in my chair, and the sound of pages turning became the sound of my own sadness. That day, I didn't sell a single book. The sound of my broken heart was the only thing I could hear. The weeks that followed were torture. The sound of my phone ringing, and I knew it was Ji-hoon, wanting to know where I was, who I was with. The sound of his voice, which used to be comforting, now gave me chills. And the sound of my heart. It beat faster when I thought of Min-jun. I remembered the sound of his laughter, the melody of his voice. I remembered his promise, and the sound of that promise. It echoed in my mind, reminding me of what I had lost. One day, I received a package at the bookstore. It was a book I had never seen before. It was an architecture book about old buildings. And on the back of the book, there was a note. The handwriting was Min-jun's. Seo-yeon, this book reminds me of you. You have the beauty of old buildings and the strength of the pillars that support them. The sound of those words made me cry. He still saw me that way. I remembered the sound of Ji-hoon telling me I was an ordinary girl, that I wasn't special. I remembered the sound of his voice when he told me I was lucky he wanted me. And I remembered the sound of Min-jun's voice telling me I was beautiful, that I was strong, that I was special. I was confused. The sound of my heart told me to run to Min-jun, to go back to him, to our love. But the sound of my reason, the sound of Ji-hoon's voice, told me to stay, to be cautious, to be safe. I didn't know what to do. Did I love Ji-hoon? I didn't know. I respected him. I felt safe with him. But love was what I felt for Min-jun. I decided I had to see Min-jun again. I had to. I had to know if my heart still beat for him. I picked up my phone and called him. The sound of his voice when he answered was full of surprise. Seo-yeon? He said. It's me, I said. I need to see you. And the sound of my own voice was the sound of a woman who was finally making a choice. The sound of coffee being poured, the sound of our breathing, the sound of our silence. I met Min-jun in a small coffee shop. He looked at me and his gaze was full of questions. Are you okay? He asked. I'm not married, Min-jun, I confessed. I'm engaged. I lied to you. I was scared. The sound of my confession made me cry. He didn't say anything. He just held out his hand, and I took it. His touch was the answer to all my questions. He was the answer. Why did you lie, Seo-yeon? He asked. Because I was scared, Min-jun. I was scared you had come back to see me and then would leave again. I couldn't go through that pain again. His voice was gentle. I understand, he said. But I'm never going to leave you again, Seo-yeon. I love you. I've always loved you. The sound of those words made me cry even more. I hugged him, and my crying mixed with my laughter. I love you too, Min-jun, I said. I love you too. And the sound of those words was the sound of a heart that was finally home. The sound of my doorbell rang. It was Ji-hoon. I opened the door, and he was there, with a serious expression on his face. We need to talk, Seo-yeon, he said, and his voice was cold. He came in and sat on the sofa. I know you met with that man, he said. The sound of his voice, a sound of control, made me feel small. I didn't know you were capable of betraying me, Seo-yeon. I didn't betray you, Ji-hoon, I said, and my voice was firm. Min-jun is my friend, and I don't love you. I'm sorry. The sound of my confession caught him by surprise. You don't love me? He said. After everything I did for you, I gave you a safe life. I gave you what you always wanted. You gave me security, Ji-hoon, but not love, I said. I'm a person, Ji-hoon, not a business plan. He looked at me, and I saw the hatred in his eyes. You're going to regret this, Seo-yeon, he said. No one is going to want you. No one is going to want a woman who betrayed her fiancé. He got up, and the sound of his footsteps walking away was the sound of my own freedom. The sound of the music in the bookstore was more cheerful than ever. The sound of my voice as I welcomed customers was happier. I was back, and this time, I was back for myself. Min-jun and I met every day. Our conversations were about everything and nothing. The sound of his laughter was my favorite melody. He showed me his projects. The buildings he designed were full of life, creativity, passion. He was proof that life didn't have to be just safe. Life could be passionate, full of colors. He told me about his life in Daegu. He told me about his father, about his career. He told me he never forgot me. "I love you, Seo-yeon," he said. "I've loved you for 10 years, and I'm not going to let you go again." And the sound of those words made me cry. The sound of my phone rang. It was my father. "Seo-yeon, are you okay?" he asked. "I know what happened with Ji-hoon." The sound of his voice was full of concern. "Dad, I'm okay," I said. "Ji-hoon and I don't love each other. We're not compatible. I'm not going to marry him." The sound of my confession caught him by surprise. "But what are you going to do now?" he asked. "I'm going to follow my heart, Dad," I said. "I'm going to fight for my happiness." I told him about Min-jun. I told him about our story. I told him about our love. And the sound of my father's silence, a silence full of understanding, was the answer I needed. "If you love him, my daughter, then fight for him," he said. "Happiness is the only thing that matters." The sound of those words gave me the strength I needed. The sound of the rain was the only sound I could hear. I was in the bookstore sitting at my counter, thinking about Min-jun. I loved him, and I had to tell him. I picked up my phone, but he called me. "Seo-yeon, what are you doing now?" he asked. "I'm at work," I said. "I'm thinking about you." The sound of his laughter was the most beautiful melody in the world. "I need to see you, Seo-yeon," he said. "I need to tell you something." The sound of his voice was urgent. "I'm coming," I said. I closed the bookstore and ran to him. I found him in a park. He was under a tree, waiting for me. The sound of his breathing, the sound of his heart, was what I needed to hear. "Seo-yeon," he said. "I love you. I've loved you for 10 years, and I want to love you for the rest of my life. I know I left you in the past, but I'm never going to leave you again. I want to be your safe harbor, your shelter, your home. I want to be your happy ending." The sound of those words made me cry. "I love you too, Min-jun," I said. "I've also loved you all these years." And the sound of our words, the sound of our hearts beating in unison, was the sound of our promise, a promise that this time would be fulfilled. The sound of my life now has a new melody. The sound of pages turning has blended with the sound of two hearts beating in unison. Min-jun and I are together. We got married in a small ceremony, surrounded by our friends and family. And the melody of my life, which was once a melody of routine, of predictability, is now a melody of love, of passion, of happiness. Min-jun tells me every day that he loves me. He tells me I'm the most beautiful woman in the world. And the sound of his voice when he says that is the most beautiful melody in the world. Life isn't a Korean drama, but my life with Min-jun is the most beautiful love story I've ever heard. And the sound of our love, of our promise, the sound of our hearts beating in unison, is the melody that reminds me that love, true love, the love I've always wanted, is here. And it's here to stay.